Department of Homeland Security has been putting federal agents at federal buildings in several cities in the United States of America to monitor the protests. The reason that they're using is that they're protecting federal property. But it seems that there are rumors that DHS agents have been picking up protesters, putting them in unmarked vans, and then driving off. So today we're going to speak with a protester that was picked up by a DHS agent in Portland, Oregon, and he's going to walk us through what happened. Welcome.
Thank you.
So first of all, what were the reasons you were there protesting? What was your main motivation for coming out and supporting Black Lives Matter?
Well, I started protesting about a month ago for Black Lives Matter because I felt that it was very necessary for people, especially here in Portland, where there has been, deaths of African American people, unjustly by the Portland police. So I started protesting to, make a stance. And I feel it's very important that people continue to protest, especially for Black Lives Matter, until we do have actual reform, until there's actual cuts made in the budget, and I feel that's why I continue to protest.
So you've even been out protesting after your arrest by the federal agents?
Yes, I had to be careful because I, have certain regulations under my release, but I do still do that.
Well, let's talk about how that went down. So you were picked up by federal agents. What was happening around you right before you were arrested?
Yeah, so I was arrested on a Monday night. It was during a protest in front of the Justice Center in the federal courthouse. So I was arrested around 1. But what was happening, there were people throwing water bottles at the building. I myself wasn't. I was just there recording with my phone. And I would say it was an overreaction from the DHS agents from what was happening. Nothing too chaotic. They didn't make any announcements or anything telling us to stop. So yeah, that's.
That's actually important information. So they didn't say, make an announcement, stop what you're doing, this is an unlawful assembly, disperse. They didn't do any of that.
No. The federal agents in all of my time protesting have not once actually made an announcement telling us to either disperse, to move west, which is common for the Portland police to say, or even saying what we're doing is illegal. They don't make any announcements.
So some folks threw some water bottles. But before that, there had been, I'm assuming, some tear gas thrown by the agents from the police department, rubber bullets.
Yeah. Before that, there was tear gas. Federal agents came out earlier in the night, tear gassing us and shooting rubber bullets and paintballs. That night in particular, I remember I got gassed pretty bad twice. But the Portland police weren't out at all that night. It was just the federal agents. The Portland police was just in the Justice Center, keeping quiet or whatever. But yeah, the federal agents were paintballing and rubber bullets and gassing a lot. But
so now, when they came and arrested you, were they in any of these unmarked vehicles that we've heard about, or were they just walking out from behind the gates in front of the federal building?
So me personally, I was arrested right in front of the federal courthouse. I was off the sidewalk on the street in front of the federal courthouse. I wasn't put in any unmarked van because they just took me right into the federal courthouse when I was arrested.
Okay. Yeah. So they cuffed you, brought you in, and they beat you too, is my understanding.
Yes, yeah. I was pretty badly beaten by a federal agent when I was arrested with a baton. There was pepper spray used on me too. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I can tell you more about that if you want.
Yeah, no, we obviously there's litigation pending and you're under charges. So yeah. Only share information with us that is safe to share. So how many federal agents were there, would you say, number-wise?
In total?
In total, and then how many came and arrested you?
Okay. There was probably a good 25 maybe, around the federal courthouse, like right in front. There's probably a good 25, I would say, maybe more. And when I was getting arrested personally, I think it was about like 3 people.
Wow.
3 agents.
Were they using the zip ties on the wrists?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And how many folks got arrested with you? It wasn't just you, I'm assuming?
Yes. That night, there was 4 others arrested with me.
And you had absolutely done nothing illegal, nothing, you weren't throwing water bottles, you were just there protesting with your phone camera.
Yes, yes. I had that's why I believe I was targeted too, is I had my camera out. And actually when I was like getting beaten, like I could tell that they wanted the camera, which is
Right.
so like I dropped it and, put my hands behind my head,
And did they, after you put your hands behind your head, did they hit you again?
Yeah. I remember the whole time I was getting arrested, like obviously happened very quickly.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that much time to react or say anything. But I did say 2 words the whole time I was getting arrested, and that was, I surrender. And their response to that was, shut the fuck up. And then he put his baton behind my head, and I was like, stomach to the ground. And he was like, made me shake my head, asking if I understood, so those are the only 2 words I said.
Wow. And did he have a name badge on his uniform? Did he have a number, any sort of identification?
I mean, I wish he did. I couldn't see anything though. Okay. And it's very confusing. Once you get arrested, it's extremely hard to find out who actually arrested you. It's just, even like on the documents that they give us and everything, I think there's like 2 different names, like for booking and for who actually arrested you, this and that. It's very hard. They don't, actually want to help you.
So after you were arrested, you were brought into the federal courthouse. What happened then?
Well, I was dragged into the federal courthouse, and I was put in a cell with one other protester, and we stayed there for about maybe 4 hours until they took us over to the Justice Center, to the sheriff's office, I'm pretty sure. And that's where we got booked. And then later on, we got taken back to the federal courthouse.
So the entire time they were holding you there, the 3 or 4 hours you were at the courthouse before you were booked, did they try to question you at all?
No, they didn't. They didn't question any of the protesters because we were obviously talking with each other. They didn't question any of us. I didn't get any like medical attention, nothing. They even knew I had asthma because they found my inhaler in my bag when they were searching my stuff.
Which is quite dangerous if there's tear gas being thrown. Yeah,
they even admitted that to me. They were like, man, dude, you can't be out here protesting if you have asthma. Like that's gonna really mess up your lungs, this tear gas. And I was like, yep.
And my response to that is like, maybe you shouldn't be throwing tear gas at protesters, but I guess that would be a conversation for a different day. Let me ask you this. Yeah, right. Let me ask you this. So you're in there 3 or 4 hours. Did they present you with charges at that time, or you guys were absolutely just sitting there, not wondering what was going to happen next?
So we got presented with charges probably near the end of that little thing. We talked with somebody. We didn't talk with any of the actual officers that arrested us. It was I'm pretty sure like an attorney, and they just said like, this is what you're getting charged with.
Okay.
Yeah.
My guess is that the National Lawyers Guild had attorneys there present to handle that.
Yeah. Okay. They've been real great.
Yeah, they're great. Wow, that's crazy. So did you and the other protesters, were you wondering why they weren't questioning you? Because it seems odd to me that they would place you guys in cells like this for hours on end and not take advantage of that and want to question you or want to look for information. Or my other thought is, do you think they were trying to get into your phones they confiscated?
That's a good possibility. I know I haven't gotten my property back yet. I mean, I assumed the reason why they kept us was to wait to see if they can get any other protesters that night so they can bring us all over together. I mean, I thought about it for a while of why they didn't question us. But like, honestly, I think why they didn't question us was because they already knew what they were going to charge us with. They knew what they were going to do to us. it was, clockwork to them. They didn't care about why we were there. They didn't, because they had all the, evidence they needed. They already charged us. They didn't care whether or not we were innocent or not.
So what did they ultimately charge you with? What were the charges?
So I got 2 charges. Failure. The first one was failure to obey a lawful order from a federal agent. And the second one was disorderly conduct on federal property. The first one is really interesting. That was what I got initially charged with.
Right.
Because they never make any orders. So
that's exactly my thought. If they never told you to disperse or to leave or any of those, if they never gave those orders, how could they turn around and say that you didn't follow the orders that weren't given? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there was never any orders. I never resisted. I was just, once I noticed the federal officers were coming out of the building and rushing people, and I noticed, obviously they were pretty aggressive in that way. I heard a couple flashbangs. I saw tear gas. I started walking with my hands up, and I was like, well, I think this is time for me to leave. But then that's when I noticed an officer rushing me with a baton out. So
so he was already coming to get you. It was too late to leave. Wow. So that's crazy. So now I'm assuming you have an attorney representing you. Do they find it to be a problem with that first charge that they didn't give orders to disperse?
It seems like they are giving these charges to all the protesters. Mm-hmm. So my lawyer, I'm pretty sure, has already seen this and is probably well aware that they haven't been actually giving orders. But it's going to be hard to fight these charges because they're federal. So like the prosecutors are really going to be going after the protesters.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Are either of these charges felonies, or are they both misdemeanors?
They're both misdemeanors. I was told that in the future that the prosecutor might try to threaten a felony just to try to scare us into submission. But for now they're Class C misdemeanors.
Okay. Yeah. It seems to me actually that this is just a force of intimidation. I would imagine that they understand that the only benefit that they're going to get from this is maybe if we scare enough these protesters off, they're not going to come back. But it also seems to me that these actions have only emboldened the protesters, and there's more protesters showing up now to support each other.
I completely agree. They're under the conditions of all of our release was we're not allowed within 5 blocks of the federal courthouse, and we have a 10 p.m. curfew because they don't want us out there protesting. They don't want us, exercising our rights.
Right.
Which is it's all scare tactics. Even the charges, they're Class C misdemeanors. They're federal, but my lawyer has never seen a Class C misdemeanor in a federal case before.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because a Class C misdemeanor is basically a step above a parking ticket. They're
right.
Disorderly conduct. I could have gotten disorderly conduct from being in a parking lot at the wrong time. They're all very small charges, but since they're federal, that's what they're trying to scare us with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's not really working though.
No, it's not working, which is good. I think people should think about the fact that the Department of Homeland Security was created with the Patriot Act, right? This was a brand new law enforcement division, and they took on the duties that had already pre-existed under other law enforcement divisions. Mm-hmm. It was sold to the American public as security against terrorism, right? But now we have ICE that are, they're rounding up immigrants. We have these actions going on in various cities across the country where they're absolutely trying to stifle your First Amendment right. And I can't help but think that part and parcel to the Patriot Act being an absolute infringement on our First Amendment rights, so is this. And at some point as a nation, we're going to have to look at this and decide what's more important to us. I don't think we've gained any security from DHS. I think we have lost many of our rights, though. Would you feel that after your experience that's probably about right?
Yes, I would definitely agree. When I was detained, when I was in their custody, I felt personally, I was like, man, I just was baffled by the state of the country that we're in right now. And I couldn't believe it. I felt violated. I felt like I didn't have my rights
Yeah.
because I didn't do anything wrong in my eyes, and I felt like I didn't commit any crimes, and I couldn't do anything. I mean, the whole time we were in federal custody, before we got to the actual justice center, we weren't allowed to call anyone. Like, they never, whenever we got arrested, the federal agents never tell us our rights. They never say the Miranda rights once.
Wow. Okay.
To any of the protesters. That was always the case. They just, lock you up and you don't know why you're there. And I feel like that's how, to the fact that America got there, the fact that they're federal agents, straight from Trump, and that's just terrifying.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.